now declare the November 18th, 2021 Board of Zoning meeting to order and ready for business. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. Roll call, please.
We're on BZA. Carrie? Bill Crawford?
Yes.
Jeff Fisher?
Here.
Darren Price?
Here.
Leota? Present. Bill McDaniel?
Present.
Jeff Wesling?
Present.
And Beverly Rude.
Okay, next on the agenda is the minutes for May the 20th, June the 24th, and July 22nd.
I make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
I'll second.
Okay, motion made and properly seconded to approve the minutes. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? Okay, next on the agenda is the public hearing petition number 15408. The petitioners are requesting a variance for relief from the drive frontage with requirement of 75 feet to permit a drive 20 feet in width for a 8.54 acre split along the Wayne County line. All right, you want to come up and...
Okay, yeah, Alex, just go ahead and describe what it is that you're going to do, why you want to do it, such as for your horses and everything else, and access that doesn't take you through the down grazing.
Yeah. My name's Alex Carroll, and I live up there at Dungrazen. And when I purchased the house, there was an agricultural field that sits behind it for about 34 acres. And I put some horses back there a few years ago. And to get hay and, heavier equipment like that back and forth, I've always had to wait till crops came off the field. And my neighbor, Gary Weiler, was always kind enough that he let me cross his field to pull stuff through, when the crops were off. And so we've just been working on it a little bit over the last couple of years. And also the way that county, that parcel kind of split down part of my woods, it gave Gary about 4 or 5 acres that weren't valuable to him really. And by creating this 8.5 acre parcel that we've created, I've been able to pick up that acreage that wasn't very good for him, and I'll fence it in, and I've got about 10 cows back there too, so that woods and stuff like that will just kind of go into, regular cow pasture. And at the same time, Mr. Wiley was kind enough, he just gave me a 20-foot strip right along the very edge of his property back to Caldwell Road, which was 200. And what that did is, because that's all zoned agriculture right there, it's really landlocked for its intended usage, because you can't get agricultural equipment to it unless you're coming through Dungrazen, which is kind of okay in a way, but then there are some parts where you just are turning and you're just not going to get it done. It won't happen. So what we're trying to do here is create a permanent access for what's going to amount to about 42 acres now. It's already zoned agricultural use, and that's what it's being used as. And we're just trying to get agricultural access, permanent agricultural access to this spot of field. And so that's why we're asking for that drive, it's just going to be a country lane. We're not going to improve upon it really that would cause any kind of line of sight difference. It's not like we're going to put walls up or run a fence down through there or anything like that.
Anybody got any questions?
Is that just so that you can just drive equipment to and from your horses?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like we brought in about, 25 round bales for the cows earlier. Well, we kinda had to wait till the corn came off the
Right.
field just so we could get it down through there.
Right,
So it's just, that's an example.
right.
Who lives out there by that, where that drive's gonna go, the house there?
John Burns, what's the name of those folks?
John and Tracy Burns.
John and Tracy Burns.
And they don't have any complaints or anything, I guess?
I sent him a couple I hadn't talked to him personal, but I did send him a couple letters, and in the notice that we mailed out, I put, a little note in there and also put my phone number in there. Just say, this is what's going on. If you got any questions, feel free to call.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
And nobody contacted me about that.
Okay. All righty, thank you. I now declare the public hearing petition 15408 closed. Any discussion?
No, I would make a motion to approve.
I second it.
All right, we have a motion made and properly seconded to approve the petition. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so he just needs to come down and get the paperwork off of you? Okay,
Okay.
all right, thank you.
Well, thank you so much.
Take care.
Yeah, because, hey, Alex, so what we'll have is there'll be a, official letter to you stating that on this date, your petition for the variance from the development standards had passed, was approved by the zoning board.
Okay.
And that'll just be another one of the things to keep in your record.
Okay, so get in touch with you probably after Thanksgiving?
Yeah, after Thanksgiving, and in the meantime is the, you and Mr. Wiley can go ahead and proceed with, splitting the property.
Okay, well, it'll take a while to get a closing date for everybody.
Yeah.
anyway, so we got-
Yes, sir.
We're
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, okay.
All right, thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is the director's report.
Actually, there's, the last 2 months is in there. So there's 2 months of director's reports.
Looks like you've been busy, Bill.
It's kind of a normal month. Normal 2 months. Yet well, interestingly is that as of today, and Bill will probably understand this better than anyone else, but I've started on the third sheet. So it looks like I'm probably going to be pushing 60 site visits even with Thanksgiving even with the Thanksgiving. So
That's a
lot. Yeah, so it's going to be, like I said, it's a busy month.
It looks like we're getting some new houses in the.
Yep. Yeah, and we've had some of the new houses going in. As people, for the most part, it's people with, really high quality dwellings, such as with, the ones with the Dungans. So most of the ones out in the county, it's on property people already have, and then they're finally having the opportunity to build. And, hopefully that means at least the materials prices are down to at least where you don't choke as badly on them.
They're still up, but not as hateful as it was.
Yeah.
I wondered about that. Okay. Everybody
Make a
has,
motion to approve the director's report.
all right,
I'll second it.
all right. Motion made and properly seconded to approve the director's report. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. So next on the agenda is adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All right, all those in favor of adjournment, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
All those against, motion carries.
call the November 18th area planning meeting to order. We'll start by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Okay. Darren Price,
Here.
Leota King,
Present.
Ryan Durham,
Present.
Dale Munson, Gary Naylor,
Present.
Robert Stewart,
Here.
Brian Robb,
Here.
Bill Mackey,
Here.
Daryl Drew,
Present.
Bill McDaniel,
Present.
Jeff Westling,
Present.
and Beverly Rude. All present.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes from June 24th, July 22nd, and April 26th. I would entertain a motion to approve those.
Motion approved.
Dale, I have a second. Second by Daryl. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is a public hearing. Section 15324, special exceptions. E, special exceptions in districts where they may be permitted. And 6-7, concentrated feed operation, CFO. And F, other requirements for special exception. 67, concentrated feed operation, CFO. City Council and County Commissioner Reconciliation Committee recommendations. Bill, would you like to read those?
Okay, now, the goal of the instructions to the Reconciliation Committee was to bring together the ordinances that were adopted by the city and then the ordinances adopted by the county. So which are both adopted by the respective bodies. Now, we had differences over on the part of the city council was the minimum separation distance from the CFO to the corporate limits of the city of Connersville. And that was 1 mile. So that recommendation was adopted by the Reconciliation Committee. Okay, the second one from the city council was the minimum separation distance from a CFO to a residence, 1,620 feet. And the setback is measured from the nearest point of any livestock structure to the nearest point of the residence. Okay, on number 2, the one for the distance from the city of Connersville, the county's adopted was with a 1/4 mile. The city of Connersville was 1 mile. So the recommendation from the committee was to 1 mile. Okay, the second on the separation distances from the CFO to a dwelling residence was the county was a 1/4 mile and the city of Connersville was 1,620 feet. The Reconciliation Committee agreed and recommended on the 1,620 feet. The number 4 is, the third one, but it's number 4, separation distances from the CFO to public use area. The county's was a 1/4 mile. The city was 1 mile. The committee compromised on the minimum separation distance from the CFO to a public use area to equal 1/2 mile, with a variance to be no closer than 1,620 feet, setback measured from the nearest point of any livestock structure to the nearest property line of the public use area. And we did adjust the language for the public use area. There was a clause that made for some confusion and potential problems. And so the public use area definition is any portion of land owned by the United States, the state, a political subdivision. Facilities include picnic grounds, campgrounds, lodges, shelter houses, playground, equipment, lakes, and swimmings and beaches. It does not include highways, road rights-of-ways, parking areas, recreation trails, or other areas where the public passes through the area. And those are the only changes. Those are the 4 items that were recommended by the Reconciliation Committee. They were not tasked with looking at anything else. They chose not to look at anything else. And I think Brian and Dale, did the two of you have something you wish to add about the Reconciliation Committee's work?
No, I think that's pretty much squared away where we're at. So.
Yeah. And the Reconciliation Committee consisted of Mr. Durham as the Area Plan Commission President. Okay, for the city of Connersville, in addition to Councilor Rob. Okay,
Diane Phillips.
yeah. Don't you hate that? This time of year I get like that. But yeah, for Councilor Phillips. Okay, for the for the Fayette County government. Yeah, Diane's gonna kill me for that. But was Commissioner Munson and then also Commissioner Strong. And those were the two that were involved with that. And I was there strictly taking part as staff. And those were those who were on it. So
So yeah, we will open the public hearing. For those who wish to speak, we ask that you write your name down on the sheet of paper and state your name when you come up to speak. With that being said, we will open the public hearing. So anyone from the public who would like to speak, please write your name down and then state your name.
Mr. President?
Yep.
Just for clarification purposes, during the public hearing, they will only be able to speak on those 4 items, correct?
no, I don't think it should be limited to that.
They can speak on whichever items that they wish to speak on.
We could change anything besides those items too. I mean, you say yes, they can speak on.
Okay, all right,
Yep.
all right. I misunderstood.
Okay, hi, my name is Vivian Heimlich. I live at 7597 West County Road 800 North up in Bentonville. I have been to every one of our hearings on CFOs. I have a question about, I have an ambiguity about the last meeting we were at. Like Dungrayson, Irish Acres, Gordon Estates, there was going to be a separate item that would be done later to change the designation of those from Ag 1, 2 to, I don't know what, that's one thing I don't understand.
Residential suburban.
Residential suburban. Now, when that happens, will they be at a quarter mile plus 300 feet, or will they be at
It'll
a
be
half
a
mile?
quarter mile to 300 feet.
Okay, I feel that is way too short a distance from a CFO to have any residential area. Springersville, this would include Springersville and Bentonville and every little community around, to be a quarter mile plus 300 feet. So I do object to that. Thank you.
Okay. Close. Anybody else wishing to speak? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Are we allowed to speak, or do we have to wait till the hearing's closed?
If you'd like to speak as a member of the public, you're allowed to go speak as a member.
Well, will the area planning commission be able to put input into it?
Yeah, that's after we close the public hearing, that's when we have our
That's what I
discussion.
asked.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Motion to close. Second.
Darren and Brian, we have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The public hearing is closed. Now we can have our discussion, Bob.
Okay, okay. We put a lot of time, a lot of effort, probably a lot of money into something that's very controversial. And I saw where, Brian, you were the one that thought it would be a good idea. What was your thinking behind it?
To be in compliance with a ruling of the Indiana Court of Appeals and Supreme Court, I felt that our ordinance violated the Right to Farm Act.
In what way did it violate, Brian?
After a ruling in Hendricks County where a person who built a CAFO and another person sued, the Indiana Court of Appeals pretty much blanketed agriculture protections by not taking a case and agreeing with the Indiana Supreme Court blanketed agriculture protections by not taking a case where I personally felt that we were in violation, and talking to Jeff, I mean, a easy case could be made that we were in violation of the Right to Farm Act.
Well, the easy case, my business is real estate. I have over 40 years in the real estate business. I've seen property values go up and down. You put one of these on a half mile, one of these subdivisions, and your prices are gonna dump. And as a chamber of commerce or as a business here, the goodness of this community has to be taken care of. And I sure hate to see a $100,000 house come to $50,000 because no one wants to just walk out and smell hogs at a confined feeding operation a quarter mile from my subdivision. It's not good economics, it's not good for the community, and it's sure not good for the health of the citizens. I want the same protection for my subdivision as the city of Connersville. Now, I know you guys could not protect my subdivision. It's up, and Bill, you said it's up to this area planning commission to take care of the rural areas because they can't do it. They got to take care of Connersville. Why aren't you taking care of the county by the same token? When we got a Man Love Park, we've got Dunn Grazing, we've got all the subdivision communities. Why can't they have the same protection?
I mean, we could do that, but then at the same time, like choosing to live in a rural area, in an agriculture area, and land that's zoned to agriculture, like I feel anyway that agriculture takes precedence in our community to protect agriculture interests.
We don't have a problem now. You're wanting to create one. We didn't ask for somebody to put a CAFO within a quarter mile of my subdivision. I was already there. It's up to us to protect that subdivision. Now, if you build a subdivision within a quarter mile of a CAFO and want to assume that's, you're right, they can't do that. But if the subdivision's there, the community is there, then we need to protect them.
And I feel that the Indiana Court of Appeals disagrees with that.
Not all the way through. You're just saying it could. I'm telling you, it will hurt the values of our homes having a CAFO within a half a mile of a subdivision. If you've lived in one of those areas, you're going to know what I'm talking about, because I have a minister who said he lived within 5 miles and it's made them sick to their stomach, the smell they had to put up with. And we're just asking for a mile. I mean, we're not looking at the whole picture here. We're just looking at a few things. And again, I have not seen one farmer stand there and say, I'm in favor of this. Not one. But I've had a lot of citizens say, no way.
Does anyone else have any discussion?
I'm curious here as to which one of these four has to do with the subdivisions.
None of those
None of
four
those?
include subdivision specifically.
But we're going with a mile from the city of Connersville and only a quarter mile out with the subdivisions,
Any other zoning district?
including these small villages, small towns, Bentonville, Orange.
No, it does not include those. It does but doesn't, because Bentonville, for instance, has residential, suburban, and general business within Bentonville. So does Orange, so does Everton. So that it's a quarter mile from another zoning district. So in Everton, for instance, the entire thing is either zoned residential, suburban, or general business. So along State Road Lawn's general business. And the
So it'd be a
outlying-
quarter mile, not a half mile. that
Correct.
We've got in this.
It's actually
That's why I voted
1,620
against it. That's
feet.
why I voted against it when we had the meeting at Miller Building, and I will continue to vote against it. I think a quarter mile is too close to these towns.
Any other further discussion?
Mr. President, what can we, if anything, can we modify to this language that's in front of us tonight?
Technically, we can modify anything within that.
Those are just suggestions and not commandments.
And we would have to do it with an amendment? to
Yes,
this?
yes.
We would have to amend that. I'd have to then prepare the language, and then that's what would be forwarded to the city council and then the county commissioners.
Okay.
Okay, just as a-
And if an amendment is made, you need to have some really clear language right at the start.
I might add that I've talked to Rushville, theirs is 2 miles.
It's okay.
They know what they're getting into, and that's a very agricultural county, and they put a 2 miles restriction.
On Rushville,
Yes.
around Rushville.
So Gary,
Where is the clause that pertains to the other zoned areas?
It's number 1.
number 1. From another zoning district.
Okay, I see. I found it, I'm sorry.
And Gary, so as it is right now, the county has the original ordinance that we sent to them and approved by the county commissioners. The cities is slightly different, so we're just trying to make them the same, so. For instance, if we take no action, then the counties is still what we changed it to, and the cities is what they adopted. Yeah. It really makes potentially a nightmare for Bill when they're different.
Well, it's a nightmare of our creation. I might add that.
Well, no, it's just an administrative thing, not that, so as it is right now, there's not a parcel within the city limits that you could have a CAFO. There's one agricultural parcel in the whole city limits, and it's on Alpine Road, and it's too close to another house to even be considered.
We do have CAFOs in Fayette County though, don't we?
Yes.
And I've talked to people that's close to them, within 2 or 3 miles, they said it's sickening.
Bill, how many do we have in Fayette County, do you know?
Okay, actually, the CFOs that were approved is there's Stuart Henry's out in Springer, out in Waterloo Township, and then there was Matt Wilhelm's, which is out in Fairview on the edge of Fairview.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I move that we amend this F1, minimum separation distances from CFO to another zoning district outside of A1 or A2 from 1320 to 2640.
Is that a half mile?
Half mile.
Yeah. Outside.
I'll second that motion.
So we have a motion.
Will you repeat the motion?
Amend F1, minimum separation distance outside of A1 or A2 to 2640 from 1320. We have a motion by Gary and a second by
Leota.
Leota.
Does that, Bill, do you feel that that's explicit enough?
That's explicit, yes, thank you, Gary.
Okay, so on the amendment to increase the minimum separation distance outside of A1 or A2 from 1320 to 2640, we have a motion and a second. A roll call vote.
Darren Price,
Yes.
Leota King,
Yes.
Brian Durham,
Yes.
Dale Munson,
Yes.
Gary Naylor,
Yes.
Robert Stewart,
Yes.
Brian Robb,
Yes.
Bill Mackey,
Yes.
Daryl Drew,
Yes.
and that's all.
That's unanimous, okay.
Unanimous. Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. President?
Yes.
With that, I would make a motion that we, with that accepted amendment and the changes made by the Reconciliation Committee, that we adopt this as presented.
We have a motion to adopt as amended.
Yes.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Who was that? Was that Daryl? Okay, we have a motion and a second to adopt, or to, adopt's not the right word, to forward
Forward a favorable recommendation.
forward a favorable recommendation to both the county commissioners and city council, as amended. A roll call vote.
Darren Price,
Yes.
Leota King,
Yes.
Brian Durham,
Yes.
Dale Munson,
Yes.
Gary Naylor,
Yes.
Robert Stewart,
No.
Brian Robb,
Yes.
Bill Mackey,
Yes.
Daryl Drew.
Yes.
And that motion passes.
Okay, and what I will do is I'll prepare the language, and should be sufficient time since we're on the third week rather than the fourth week. So we should be able to get it on the first meeting of the agenda of the month for both the commissioners and then also the city council. So I'll make those changes, and then I will forward that to the two legislative bodies.
Now, if those bodies were to make changes of their own on that, then we'll have to approve them again.
And we go back through this again, yeah.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is the fee schedule draft.
Well, actually, the fee schedule was adopted
Okay.
by the county commissioners.
Fee schedule.
This is mostly for the benefit of the zoning board and the area plan commission to show what was in place and what was actually adopted by the county commissioners. Now, what I will have to do is to prepare this for and ideally is the changes that we need to make in the zoning code, the subdivision regulations, and then also the replacement building codes for the city and the county, ordinances for the city and the county, to have those then ready for the December meeting.
Our
Yes,
December meeting.
yep, for our December meeting.
So it'd be a public hearing to remove our fees
Yep.
from the,
So
From
then,
the ordinance.
yeah,
from the ordinance.
and then the new,
Replace it with
yeah, and then
the fee schedule.
well,
adopted.
this is already there. So this is already adopted by the county. Now, what it will require then is to then, so it will be then in January will be the next opportunity then for the city council and the county commissioners then to adopt the amendments to remove the fee schedule language from the various locations in the zoning code, the subdivision regulations, and then also to have the language prepared with inserting the proper language in the state of Indiana's model building code ordinances for the city and the county.
And
Tho-
what this will do, this creates, this is the ownership of the commissioners now.
Correct.
Rather than the APC.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is, we've talked about for a long time.
This makes it easy for,
Yeah, it does, because
to
it,
maintain
yeah,
standard.
exactly. So
standard.
as it needs to be adjusted one way or another,
Some work ahead of you.
or something else that needs to be added, that the commissioners will then, it'll be an easier process. Because the options were by an ordinance by the elected body, fee schedule. You could keep them in your ordinances, which is not advisable, or it could have been done through the rules of procedure, which is not advisable. Because it's a, you know, from a political perspective, that would not be a very good idea at all.
And really, it makes it so when changes are necessary, that
Yeah.
it's a quicker process.
Right.
Adjust fees
Yep.
to keep up with inflation.
Okay.
So Bill, do we need a motion to schedule the public hearing?
Yeah, just go ahead and make a motion to request that I schedule the public hearing for those changes so that I can then put it on the schedule and then prepare my changes. Because I have sufficient time then to prepare the language and then get it advertised.
Okay.
So that,
I would entertain a motion to hold the public hearing for the removal of the fee schedule from the APC zoning ordinance.
Yep, from the zoning code, subdivision regulations, and then also the preparation of the replacement building code ordinances.
I would make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to move forward with the public hearing for the fee schedule in December. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, and then we received a request from the county commissioners to adopt an urban agriculture section of our zoning code.
Yeah. And the only one with it would be really just related to the chickens. And the request was made on the part of Mr. Rickman because of, he's had a problem with ambiguity between with city policy, then within the area zoning code to deal with the city chickens because they're growing in the numbers with the number of people who have chickens in the city. And so the idea is to then to have that in place is to make the job more straightforward and easier with clear directions for Mr. Rickman with the animal control. And it would also make it easier for the, also because also within the city code enforcement there's confusion with the city code enforcement official also. So I think that, hey, Brian?
Yeah.
Yes.
Brian's right. Councilor Rob. And did you have any more discussion with any of the fellow city council members?
There was no more discussion about it.
Okay, and your feeling is that they were supportive of this?
As far as clarification, to
Yep.
give him some
Yep.
ease of doing his job as far as that part of it goes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, because I think
didn't
of,
answer all the questions, but it's a step in the right direction.
yep, okay.
Question,
Yep,
if I may. Under the enforcement paragraph, it talks about that it gives animal control the right to remove the animals if there's a problem, but it really doesn't give a monetary fine definition. Would that come under city council and county commissioners to
That-
create?
that's what it would,
Monetary
that would,
funds.
what it would come in with it. Because the main one is that, the goal is to go ahead and get people to comply. You really don't want to necessarily financially hit someone. Now, the city has something different than the county because the city actually has if the city adopts fines for repeated violations and a failure to fix the problem, the city does have a ticket system in place. We are limited to out in the rural areas of the county with using the subdivision ordinance, and then any fines, of course, would have to be issued through by taking someone to court.
So could that be part of this, fines? The problem I see with this is, number one, animal control is not designed nor capable of taking care of confiscation of animals like this,
Yeah.
or birds.
Yeah.
And so it's only gonna cost the county more money to accommodate that
Yeah.
needs. And I guess instead of confiscation, I'd rather see them face a monetary fine than us have to babysit chickens.
Right.
Gary, I still want to find out what ambiguity means.
The city, for instance, has an ordinance that there's a fine associated with any animal that's at large. So any animal that's at large, your first violation is a ticket, and then after that, there's a fee. The third violation, it then goes to court because the fee exceeds what a municipality is allowed to.
Yeah.
I mean,
A ticket you're allowed.
Yeah,
I know the county run into that problem with some confiscation of some large animals at one time, and it cost us quite a bit of money to
To keep
house
them
them.
alive. Yeah.
And we just wasn't, they're not set up for it.
Yeah.
They're mainly dogs and cats and,
Yep, okay. Well, I guess what I can do is I can have a discussion with Dave and see how he would want to approach that.
yeah.
And I wish Mr. Rickman were here to, articulate the problem with, like, what particular problems is he having with? Is it animals running free?
Oh,
Is
the primary one he has are the chickens that run loose.
Yeah, we have a couple.
Oh, yeah, Kroger, right? You get fresh chicken at Kroger, live and...
Yeah, somebody in Office Park has chickens and they roam the backside of the store on a regular basis.
Yeah.
See where your chickens come from.
And see, this,
100% fresh.
this doesn't really make it explicit that they have to be caged.
Yeah.
Enough, I don't think. The language isn't strong enough.
I mean, in reading chapter 91 of the city code, like, any animal is supposed to be confined to a yard. Any animal that leaves its yard is subject to a fine.
Okay.
A dog, a cat, a chicken, a ferret, your snake if it gets out, your turtle,
What
all that is.
about raccoons and possums? We got a bunch of those.
If they're kept as a pet, I guess they're subject to
Well, I
that.
don't intend to, but.
Yeah, they're subject to that fine.
Yeah, that's why you go ahead and cage them and take them down to the,
You try to cage her.
Just get a trash can and put a lid over it, and you might be
We'll
able
take
to
the can off.
but,
roll it down to Dave and have him take it off.
But other than that, I think this is very plain and
yeah.
simple.
Okay,
And,
so really, there's
I wouldn't
two
want
things
to
really to try to make more clear is the enforcement approach,
yeah.
and then make it more clear what's required for confining. Okay? Yeah.
I mean, my definition of fenced-in yard might be different than yours, and
Well, what I was
I
trying to,
forgot to clip their wings this week,
yeah,
and they flew over my fence.
yeah. Well,
you know.
Dave has a problem with one person in particular, and he's been trying to convince them to say, you need to clip the wings.
Yeah, and I mean, if you clip their wings, they can't get up off the ground, but
Yeah.
if you forget,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
or don't get to one
Yeah.
soon enough,
Yeah, and,
they
okay,
can still fly over the fence, but if you've got them in a coop,
yeah,
and that's covered on all sides,
yeah.
they can't get out then.
Right.
Are these in the city limits or are you up in the county?
Residential areas,
Residential
city
area,
and out in the subdivisions in the county.
Really?
Yeah, because I think Bill has some out there by him.
Yeah, I got hear a couple roosters going.
Yeah. Because ideally is, yeah, because, yeah. I'm glad I don't have any in my neighborhood.
Now, I noticed that you talked about other small animals and mentioned 4-H project. I don't know much about the chicken project, but I'm sure they have a rooster project as well. But yet if we outlaw
Yep.
the roosters, will the 4-H be exempt?
Okay.
Or are you,
Yeah, well, that could be a problem. Well, that's why we have these discussions.
well, that's what
Exactly.
I just happened to think, well, shoot, we're not really addressing the 4-H issue with,
Well,
projects.
I can talk to them before as to what kind of projects they have
yeah,
with small
yeah.
animals.
You talk to Heather and see what,
Or give them a special permit, possibly, to have the project animals.
Yeah, that's always a possibility, a special 4-H permit.
But you don't let them have a special permit to have a cow.
Yeah, well, they can't have them in those, less than 3 acres anyway.
Well, so that's what I guess what I'm saying is,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and the whole reason, 3 acres is chosen with this, because in the existing ordinance as it is, for whether it's a cow or a horse, you need a minimum of 3 acres to have it on a residential property. So, and,
Residentially zoned.
Yeah, residential
Oh,
zone property,
my goodness.
yeah. So,
But
yeah,
yeah, Jeff, I understand what you're saying. That would
Next door to
cover,
the mayor.
I mean, yeah, so we could say, well, you can have hens, but you can't have roosters as a 4-H project.
yeah.
Yeah, I understand.
And like I said, is then really the thing that they, yeah, I won't use ambiguity, Bob, okay? But is
I'll buy that.
clarity, we accept clarity. Dave was really seeking clarity on, to guide him.
So are we ready for public hearing to go to this?
No, we're not
by
ready.
next month, or?
No, we're not ready for that.
Okay.
But
Probably be
it wouldn't be until, yeah, it wouldn't be until sometime in the start of the year. Because when I
maybe
s-
January.
Yeah, because I was speaking with Brian is that, because of course, is then we want to go ahead and take care of then, well, fixed language with the CFO, get that to the city council and the commissioners. Okay, then the other one is on the, because of December, public hearing for the fee schedule. And so we can take care of that then at the December meeting. And I don't know if anybody would, because we're likely to have some new members. And I don't know if anybody would really want to feel comfortable with the carryover from anything before, or whether they feel comfortable at so there's a possibility something could be a hearing at the January meeting. But since that's primarily a lot of administrative things,
They
someone's
could have
first
3
meeting.
weeks to prepare.
Yeah. So, yeah, because another one we're talking about is with Brian about, is in order to get ready for a hearing for the solar energy siting rules, is that we need to have, similar with the confined feeding, is then just to have a meeting. And I think Brian and I are talking about January would probably be appropriate to have just a section-by-section discussion over solar energy by the Area Plan Commission. And then whatever points are taken, and then the discussion of any changes that might be made before preparing language for an actual
Put that
ordinance.
into it.
Yeah, yeah, and besides that, and,
Public hearing. thing.
yeah, because what has to happen anyway with the animals and also with the solar energy is those still need to be placed in the code format also.
Is the solar energy issue also something coming down from the State House?
Yeah,
Weren't they addressing some of that here recently?
I'm sure they have
Yeah,
at the last,
yeah. But
session.
it'll be interesting to see what might come up with it, because I haven't read anything about I guess, what is it? Was it first week of December? They have they have the meetings and start setting things up for the committees, for the bills. So I haven't seen anything for any type of bill yet. And anything along those lines is the Planning Association listserv, they have people just focus really on all legislative actions. And so,
May
if
I
anything's
ask-
being proposed in the state legislature for solar energy, I'll know by January.
Vivian, do you know anything about the solar energy legislation?
I heard about a month ago there was going to be some legislation on solar energy this year, this coming session.
Yeah.
And the Tuesday was the prayer breakfast and kind of this kickoff, and I know there has already been some legislative plans that's been proposed, and I read a couple of them the other day, mostly on education issues.
Yeah.
But it's coming, and they're going to be
Well,
addressing it this year.
should we move forward until we hear what's coming out of the?
I could check with
Okay.
Senator Lysing, she's on the ag, she is the chair of the ag.
Yeah, because,
See if something's coming through agriculture, but it also come through energy.
Yeah.
More likely will come through energy
yeah.
rather than ag.
Yeah, so I think it's still something we still need to have a good discussion on it, because it would not surprise me that if anything that's done is that they're really not going to jettison what was put forward in the model ordinance for the state. So unless there's something drastic that's being changed, I think we can still move forward and have our discussions with it.
but we would have to change it if they'd be more conservative than what we put in there, right?
There's always that risk, yeah. But it's at least be ready and then rewrite and then make some of the changes. And if there really isn't, I think part of that will be to see what's in the actual legislation as to whether, to move forward to get something before legislation. Because, I have no idea if it's going to be something which is going to, for example, this is an example, I don't know what's going to be in legislation. So for example, if the state of Indiana, the piece of legislation might be an attempt to strip out local control, well, that'd be reason to move forward prior to the adoption of any ordinances. Anything in the state legislature, yeah.
That was in last year's defeated legislation.
Yeah. So that, yeah.
And it's coming back, that's what
Yeah,
I'm hearing.
so typically what you'll have is so if it's adopted by such and such a time before, you gotta keep what you got. One of the big ones was that stripped away local control was the Wi-Fi and the right-of-ways, the mini Wi-Fis. And that stripped away zoning control over those, local control.
I find it interesting if the state would fight to the last limit for control of voting machines or different states' jobs here, but they can come in here, our counties, and say, how are you going to run your county?
Yeah.
So, okay.
Well,
That's why it was defeated.
yeah, well, it depends upon who's unhappy with their Wheaties.
Yeah.
Well, green energy has very green pockets.
Yep.
Okay.
So we'll move forward on getting this urban agriculture codified.
Yeah, well, my discussions and then codify, code language, then format for code, discuss with the city, okay, so there'll be some discussions on that to tweak some of the things we have in there, such as with Gary's concerns. Okay, then prepare for the fee schedule, then prepare things for the solar energy to have, we could probably go over some things in January, December, but, okay.
Next item on the agenda is the director's report. We have 2 months of director's reports in here for October and November.
I make a motion to approve the director's report.
Leota made a motion. Do we have a second? Daryl. All those in favor of approving the director's report signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Last item on the agenda is
I move
adjournment.
to adjourn.
Leota,
You didn't waste much time there, Leota.
Huh?
do we have a second?
You must have been there
Daryl.
primed.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
10 minutes ago.
Any opposed? And we are adjourned.